Well, earlier today, just a short while ago, the governing party announcing that it has not made any decisions on the Women's League president, Bathabile Dlamini. She attended the weekend's National Executive Committee meeting of the ANC, despite being convicted of perjury. Let's get some reaction on that ANC briefing from political analyst Professor Barry Hanyane, who followed it, just like us here in the studio. Prof, good afternoon. Thank you very much for your time. I mean, a number of matters that the briefing was about in terms of what Paul Mashatile, the General, had to say. I mean, covering a lot of different subjects, domestic issues and global issues such as the war in Russia and Ukraine. But can we begin first, in my mind, just to get your sense of what he had to say about issues of immigration? Asking this on the back, of course, of what happened earlier today with the release on bail of the Operation Dudula leader Ntantla Dlamini, who and his supporters have been campaigning for the deportation of undocumented or illegal foreigners from South Africa. And now Mwele Tsimbeki, now just playing in the bite we've just played, saying that the governing party got its approach many years ago wrong. It made lots of mistakes since it got into power. On the issue of immigration, with what Paul Mashatile had to say, apologies for that, Paul Mashatile had to say, does it really give us direction about how to go, what the ANC is looking forward to in terms of government enforcing immigration laws?
But then, good afternoon to your viewers. Look, I think it comes in the backdrop of the president taking the ministerial entourage to the northwest, saying to us, look, he is tired of answering every question. And no wonder why today he is somewhere in Dubai, and the cabinet must now make sure that they hold the fort. And at the helm is the Minister of Home Affairs, who arguably must now demonstrate that he has what it takes to address this issue, whether it's a question of dealing with illegal immigrants and corruption within the ranks of his own officials, including SAPS, by the way. This should be part and parcel of the great grand plan of saying there's ways in which immigration in this country can be dealt with. And I suspect that this is the way to deal with, where the issue of dealing with legalities, dealing with ensuring that the sovereignty above all is upheld and protected, becomes the way in which this administration sees it as an approach to deal with all matters involving issues of immigration.
Yeah, he said the ANC supports Aaron Motsoaledi as the minister, and the government wants to ensure, and the ANC wants government to ensure that there is effective border management. I know that from the early part of this year, they started to implement some new border management authority. But last 28 years, too late.
But then it may very well be, unfortunately, and born out of a number of issues. Our porous borders, and I'm afraid one would also add into the basket the movement of terrorism by and large of certain cells. I mean, for the mere fact that we're not far from Cabo Delgado in the northern part of Mozambique, may also tells us that movement of certain cells, movement of certain individuals with illicit intents may very well have been the natural way of actually moving from one country to the other. Then, of course, you have poor persons who, out of sheer poverty, chose not to take the legal route, instead walked through the porous borders, and basically see chances of getting employment for themselves as a way of meeting certain needs that may very well arise from different countries in the SADC. So it's just being unfortunate that you have
this whole
a plethora of such individuals.
Yeah, this whole immigration issue and illegal migrants and undocumented foreign nationals is just going to keep on getting bigger in terms of what civil society organizations like Operation Tudula are saying. They're not going to stop now. That's the word we heard. Now, let's shift to the other part of today's briefing, post the NEC meeting of the ANC by Paul Mashatile. Bathabile Dlamini was found guilty recently of perjury. She apparently attended the NEC meeting at the weekend. The whole issue of stepping aside was sort of came up, and he addressed it by simply saying that the matter of Bathabile Dlamini is going to be attended to by the relevant officials. Is that good enough?
Not quite, Braden. I think a determination should have been taken. Instead, once again, we see this soft approach of saying, let there be a task team. I wonder how many task teams have we established in the last...
Well, that word, those words, task teams, came up quite a lot. There's a task team for this, there's a task team for that, but there's going to be also this kind of a task team for the Bathabile Dlamini's situation.
Yeah, it's just unfortunate. And it doesn't augur well from a party governance perspective in saying you have structures, you have a party constitution, you have due process. Yes, the engine of the party itself in the form of the SG and the deputy SG might not necessarily be there, but they are guided by conviction within the party, the constitution itself, and due process and precedence by the way. So one wonders, is this a question of saying, let there be certain individuals in the form of a task team that will actually become henchmen? We'll have to watch this one as we go forward. And I hope Madam Modise and others would not fall foul to such a possibility.
Yeah, they're going to be looking as well at setting up the next conference for the Women's League, because the current term, the term of the current is over, and then you've got a president in the person of Bathabile Dlamini facing this perjury case, and one wonders what happened to the step-aside resolution. I mean, you don't need anything else. You've got a resolution according to the ANC. We're going to have to watch and see what develops there. The other matter is the conference itself of the ANC, the 55th National Conference. He said that there will be a policy conference in June, and that discussion papers are going to be published next month, and that not just members of the ANC but the public as well will have an opportunity to contribute or in terms of that process. June is not far away. I mean, just one wonders if they're going to pull it off.
But then there has been an emerging trend here, and I think we need to acknowledge this en masse, in that, especially from Gauteng, non-ANC members have been invited before, especially the beginning of this year, to actually contribute to the ANC's narrative, dialogues and workshops and so forth, to say perhaps the time has come to listen to non-aligned voices. And these voices has become more important. So I'm not surprised today that the Treasury General came out with a sense of conviction to say the time has come to say, let voices outside of the ANC rank and file contribute to the debate of the ANC. And I think it's buoyed by the former President Thabo Mbeki, who not so long ago spoke about the bankruptcy of intelligentsia within the ANC. So it's open sesame for anyone who is able to contribute to that debate. And let's see whether this becomes a new dawn altogether, a new way of engagement and being open about transactions and matters of the party.
Yeah, thank you very much. We ran out of time. There's so much more that he spoke about. We're not going to get to all of that. I mean, of concern, of course, is the fact that there is violence within the ANC and Treasurer General Paul Mashatile expressing concern, saying the NEC is concerned about that. And in June, they're going to be having the ANC Youth League 26th Congress. So it's going to be such a busy time for the governing party. I'm sure we'll find time in the near future, Professor, to really get some of your insights about the other issues. But thank you for this afternoon. That's political analyst Professor Barry Hanyane, just discussing one or two of the items that came out from the briefing by the Treasurer General of the ANC following the meeting at the weekend of its National Executive Committee.